In distant times, when winter reigned over the land and white, fluffy snow covered it like a soft blanket, there lived in a remote village an old man named Anfim. People came to him for advice, for word of his wisdom spread far beyond the village. But above all, Anfim valued silence. Every morning he would go out to the lake, frozen over with ice, sit on an old weathered stump and gaze into the clear depths where beneath the thick, cold armor life still lingered. One day, a young man named Luka approached him. His face was contorted with pain, and in his eyes burned the fire of anger. "Old man," he began, clenching his fists, "my heart is breaking from pain. My wife has left me, my friends have turned away. Business is going badly. Why is the sky deaf to my suffering?" Anfim raised his eyes, slowly reached out his hand, and pointed to the frozen lake. "Do you see the ice? It's strong and thick, but beneath it is water. The water is alive, but it can't break through to the surface. What will happen if it tries to force its way up with great strength?" Luka shrugged. "The ice will crack. That's right. And what will happen to the water? It will freeze in the wind." Anfim nodded. "Pain is like that water. If you let it out with cries and complaints, it will freeze in the hearts of those who hear it. People won't be able to warm your pain. They'll only cover it with the cold of indifference or judgment. But if you keep it inside, it will remain alive. In time, it will find a way out quiet and wise, like a stream beneath the snow." Luka did not immediately understand the old man's words. He walked away, muttering to himself that all wise men love to speak in riddle. But fate had another lesson in store for him. On the way back, he saw a red fox in a meadow. She was sitting next to an old wolf whose paw was injured. The wolf was groaning, but not whining. She silently licked his wound. Luka stopped, stunned by what he saw. "Why isn't he howling?" he asked aloud, as if the animals could understand him. But the fox turned her head toward him, and in her eyes he read, "To cry out is to call doom upon yourself." The wolf knew that if he started to howl, a hunter or other animals would hear him. His weakness would be his end. Luka pondered this, and the next morning he went to the elder again. "Anfim, I saw a wolf. He was silent, even though he was in pain. But isn't it better when a person shares their suffering?" The elder smiled. "There is a difference between sharing and pouring out. One heals, the other poisons. Come, I'll show you something." He led Luka to an old willow tree at the edge of the village. Its trunk was covered in deep cracks. "Do you see these scars? Every time the tree was hurt, it didn't scream. It simply grew around its wound. And now these scars are its strength. But people aren't trees." "That's true. But people are more complex. The law of nature is the same pain that is lived through in silence turns into wisdom. Pain that is poured out in a scream becomes a weapon against you." Several months passed. Luka learned to be silent. He no longer complained or looked for someone to blame. And one night, when the moon silvered the snow, he came to the lake again. To his surprise, Anfim was sitting there. "I knew you would come," the old man said. "How?" "Because the pain you carried in silence has finally stopped burning. Now it is your teacher." Luka sat down beside him, and for the first time in a long while he cried. Without words, without shouting, just quiet tears that instantly froze on his cheeks. "Do you understand now?" Anfim whispered. "When it hurts, stay silent. Not because there's no one to tell, but because no one will understand it the way you do." Spring arrived. The ice on the lake melted, and the water, which had been bound by silence for so long, finally broke free. Luka stood on the shore, watching the sunlight dance on the waves. Now he knew that pain endured in silence does not make you weak. It makes you deeper, like a lake that seems to be sleeping in winter. But beneath the ice, there is always life. A parting wisdom: when you are in pain, stay silent. Not because you have no one to tell, but because true healing happens through silence. By crying out, you give your pain to others. With silence, you turn it into strength. Snow falls soundlessly, yet it is what covers the earth with warmth. If this parable touched your heart, share it with someone who is struggling right now. See you in new informative videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.